Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of Reflecting Him. This is my third interview. It's not with someone that I met at the cow unit, Eric Corley, as you're going to find out very quickly, is someone that I met, 15, 20 years ago, but it feels like? How long ago was that?
Absolutely. Yes,
It was,
sir.
it was a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
Um,
2008-ish.
2000, yeah, that's right. That's a
Yeah.
team program, 2000. So I met Eric here back in 2007, 2008 when we started the team program at the Torres unit. And the guy is he's a character. He has the best Stone Cold Steve Austin impression I've ever seen in my life. And maybe I can get him to do it later on. But anyway, thanks again for joining us, folks, for clicking, following, sharing, and just getting invested and involved with what we do here at Blueprints Small Ministry. But we love what we do. We love the men that we witness and minister to. So without further ado, Eric, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? Where you at?
Man, I'm doing really good. I'm living in Amarillo, Texas.
Amarillo, what are you doing up there, man?
Freezing my butt off at work.
Hey, is it cold up there right now?
Yeah, it gets pretty cold in the mornings overnight. It's dropping into the high 30s, 38,
What?
It warms up to about mid-50s the last couple of days, and it's been raining, so it's extra cold.
So when does it start snowing officially in Amarillo?
Man, at any given time from anywhere from October all the way through almost April.
Really?
Yeah, it
Well,
can
cool.
snow. It hasn't yet, but hopefully we'll
Okay,
get a
well,
Black Christmas.
it's gonna be good. So speaking of Christmas and all family things, who's this young lady you have here with you, buddy?
This young lady is my daughter from my first marriage,
Okay,
Emma
good deal.
Ann. Yes.
Hi, hi.
Hi.
I think when I first met you, you were in Pampers.
She was. And I was too. I was
Hey,
crying all the time.
spiritual Pampers.
Yeah.
So, brother, you were recently released, right?
Yes,
How long?
sir.
How long were you locked up? This was the second time you were down.
Yes, sir. This
How
was
long were
my
you down? How long were you down the second time?
second time I did 6.5 years.
Six
Uh,
and a half.
yes, sir. I missed my first three paroles, made my fourth one.
Wow, sounds like me. Set off, set off, set off. So you know what? Whatever, man.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
just going.
playing that game.
I'm just going to live here.
uh,
So let's jump to your first incarceration, man. We're not going to talk about cases and the gory details. We don't do that here with the platform of Blueprints, but we do want to highlight the principles, man, the emotional experiences that you went through. So during your first incarceration, what happened, man? How old were you? How did it affect your family? Can you talk about that for a second?
yeah, my first incarceration was very rough, especially the first 4 years. I was very young. I had no direction as far as what I wanted to do in life, who I wanted to be, the kind of man I wanted to become.
Okay.
And somewhere along the way, God reconnected with me. God found me and reached out to me through brothers like yourself, and just started to reshape and reform that identity of just being his son, just being loved by him first and foremost. And out of that love, he started transforming my character and who I was as a man. Obviously, I still made many mistakes because I went
Right.
back to prison, but that process began, and none of the work he ever did in me was wasted. I
So
can
speak.
look. Go
So
ahead.
check this out, man. I need it because you got. I know you, dude, and there's just so much packed into the conversation that I want to have with you here. And if
Yes, sir.
we need to do a part two, we can do that. You talked about character. Who was Eric prior to his incarceration? Who were you, man?
He was an addict
Okay.
and just lived to please himself. He was
Okay.
a pleaser of man and pleasing himself. Only was looking at what benefited him in each step he took. You know,
Okay.
Um, just wanted to feel good, just wanted to be accepted and loved, you know,
Okay.
and that's
So we're
pretty
talking like
much.
with relationships and substance abuse and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. So you got
Substance
locked up.
abuse.
You got locked up in what year, Eric?
I got locked up initially in February of 2003 was my first incarceration.
Okay. And you got to the Torres unit what year?
I got to Torres unit in '05, June
Oh
of '05
five.
or May. I remember that the San Antonio Spurs won the championship that year.
Part of the last one.
Yeah.
I love my Spurs, man, but
Yeah.
golly, something
Yes,
happened and
sir.
they ain't won since.
Yes, sir.
After the big three broke up, that was it.
Man.
So how did you and Ruben Constante meet? Tell your side of the story.
Wow. Man. Talking about fate. So I had been living in J5, which was the dormitories over there, and ran into some good brothers over there. That's when I also first met Jason Cole. And
Jason, what's up?
yeah, what's up, dude? Pinky the brain, man.
Yeah, Pink is the brain. He'll be watching this.
Yeah. He we just hit it off, just a couple good brothers. And I had always been attracted to good brothers in there, without realizing that it was God calling me. Just
Okay.
I knew that they had something that I wanted, man. They were, just magnetic, and so I wanted to be around those kind of brothers. And so Jason had mentioned that he was leaving J5 and going to the God Pod, the team program. So, and I thought that was dumb. I was
Right.
like, no, man, like we just got to J5, man. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to get out
Open
of there.
cubicles, no cells, no in
Yes.
and outs. What are you talking about?
Right. Who wants to go back to that? And so he left, and the entire time after he left, I was just not lost, but just kind of I felt like, man, my brotherhood, I lost that camaraderie that I had with him. I didn't really have it with other brothers in there. And so uh I finally God just broke me down and was like, look, this is what you need. You need to do this just in my prayer times. And so I made that decision to go to the team program, and that's where I met Ruben Constante.
All
And
right.
I remember him the the first real encounter I remember with Ruben. Ruben, he got righteously angry with me because I had another episode of a fit of rage, on, and he told me, "I know what's wrong with you, brother. I'm trying to help you if you just let me." And I was like, "Okay, okay,"
I
Uh,
remember.
but I needed that. I definitely needed that, and I thank you for that.
So what was your in the team program for you listeners out there? The team program was a program that me and another brother named Rudy Garcia we had co-founded the program in 2007, got it approved. It's in my memoir. You guys can read about it. But the team program was its first ever faith-based dorm initiative at the Torres unit at a time when the unit was literally a rock and roll unit. A lot of drugs, a lot of gang activity, and it was a radical thing that we did at Torres, revolutionary in many ways, especially for a chaplaincy department that was bent on doing things their own way. Eric can attest to you and other brothers who were straight with the word. Brother Rudy and I encountered a lot of opposition in founding the team program at the Torres unit, but that's for another episode, another story. Eric, what was your experience like at the team program, man? What was something that really stuck with you? What lasted? What just kind of made an imprint with you, brother? Whether it was a person or a lesson or a relational breaker, like anything, buddy. What really got you?
There were so many things that were effective, but I would say the main thing that really stuck with me the whole way through was just God's grace. Because as you know, brother, I made many mistakes being in there trying to be a good Christian, trying to do the right thing. Um, but it was the brotherhood and the camaraderie of men that would love you through that would love you despite your faults and continue to help you grow and not leave you stagnant. You know, it's one thing to accept somebody and then leave them where they're at. Is that true love?
Right.
But to accept somebody and then say, hey, here's the path forward. you know, having that direction, and then how the volunteers were integrated to be able to come in and be able to spend time in the Word, to spend time and meditate on the Word of God, and to really reflect on who God was calling you to be. You know, our identity is wrapped up in Him. And so without that relationship, which is what the whole thing was geared towards, empowering you to move forward pretty much with God, you know, and to take on the identity that He has for you. So the main thing for me that really brought me through that was the love of my brothers and the love of our volunteers. Um, Without that, I mean, it would almost be impossible to change, you know? Um,
It highlights the importance of community,
yes.
right? Not just camaraderie, but community,
Right.
because we're called
Community.
to
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah. Bad choice of words on my part.
No,
Yes.
you're good. You're good, brother. Let's talk about challenges in incarceration, man. I like to share with viewers and readers and whatnot, chatting because some people don't know what incarceration is like. So hearing it firsthand from someone like you, and of course myself, what is or what was a challenge that was it was like a thorn in your side, man. What just lasted?
um, for me, it was addiction. Um, because in prison, as many men that are watching this have been in there, you know that you go through times of disheartening situations, losing your family, not being able to communicate with them, and nothing more than wanting to prove to them somehow, even from inside the walls,
Yeah,
that you're changed or you're different, or that you could be. And when you go through,
you there?
yes, sir.
Okay,
As
keep
an
going.
as an addict, you know, you're trying to feel good, and when you feel horrible about yourself, um, you want anything to try to change that, and sometimes, man, especially where I was at this last time, I was on a trustee camp, and things like drugs were easily accessible, and I did struggle with addiction still, because with freedom comes responsibility, and the thing is about having the freedom that we had out there, when it's taken for granted and taken advantage of, I mean, that doesn't feel good either. When you realize,
Right.
when you've matured and you realize, man, that's not the right thing to do either, so I would say that was one of the biggest things for me, just that I struggled with all that freedom, was still trying to maintain that identity through such grievous loss of my marriage, not being able to reach my beautiful daughter, and things like that. And so, and it wasn't the right answers, um, but nonetheless, that was decisions that I had made.
So you did how much time the first time?
I did 10.5 years the first time. 10 years and 5 months.
Man,
Yes, sir.
10.5.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. So you got out 10.5. You got out. How long were you out before you were reincarcerated?
I was out for 4 years to the month. I got
Okay.
released July 1st of 2013, and then I had gotten incarcerated July 23rd of 2017.
Okay. So generally speaking, Eric, what happened, buddy? Can you take us through some steps on what happened those years that you were out that eventually landed you back in prison?
Uh,
Generally speaking, of course.
yeah. So generally speaking, the first thing I did was barge into a relationship, still in the halfway house, with my ex-wife. Um, I didn't do that right. I didn't take time to court her or to do things according to God's plan. I wanted to, the desire was there. Uh, After 10.5 years, though,
I
you
already
got
know.
somebody paying you attention, and it's so easy for a man, if you don't guard your heart, man, to go down that track. And then we had a daughter very quickly, Emma. beautiful, and
There she is.
and we started living together as soon as I was out of the halfway house. I mean, I got out 3 months flat, and we moved in together. We weren't married. We were going to church and all that. Um, and we were trying to go down that right path. We had the desire to. She even quit smoking cigarettes, and um, and I didn't struggle with addiction to drugs as much then as I did, in prior years, because I had responsibilities mainly,
Okay.
But even in our church platform, our circumstances at church, we led everybody to believe that we were married and we weren't. And then eventually God, convicted us enough about that where we went and got married, and, but there were doubts. There were doubts about everything on both of our ends. Neither one of us were perfect people, and we tried to make it work the best that we could. Um, but we were two broken people trying to fix each other. And that's not how a relationship goes. God is your healer. And once God heals you, then you could start looking for a relationship, And so I have learned that, and not that I think we're ever perfect, but we get to a certain stage of maturity where, hey, it's okay to do this, it's okay to move forward in a relationship. I held down a job the entire time, and then I did take care of my responsibilities. I paid my child support, worked my butt off for very little money, but we struggled financially a lot. And after the 4 years, I started making more money than I had ever made in my life. Pretty much working for myself and doing construction. Um, More money, more problems. The old saying goes. And so I let that stress move me to my first encounter with methamphetamine, and I did it for 3 months. I got clean once, and then in that 3 month time, to where I was like, "That's not for me." And then I struggled so bad that whole week. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, right there. So when you began the drug use, was that in secret?
Yes, the
So
drug use
nobody
was in
knew.
secret. I hid it, and
Your
my
ex-wife,
ex.
the wife at the time, didn't know.
She didn't
Nobody knew.
know. There was a few times where she had an idea because she had been in that lifestyle as well, and so to be able to hide it so easily from her, which when she did make accusations or when she would question me about it, of course I would get defensive, and I would blame it on something else, But I just I hid it very well until I just couldn't hide it no more,
Wow.
and then when that happened, I just decided to say quits with it, And that decision there, I left her, and I left Emma with her. And that was very tough. I did go see Emma a couple of times that week.
How old was she?
She was 3 at the time. Emma was 3 years
Wow.
old when I got back incarcerated. A week after I left, I was locked up.
Wow.
So
Okay.
poor decisions, man. Just based on office stress, not knowing how to deal with the issues and with the problems. Um, which I had the answers. That's the biggest thing that I kick myself in the butt for, is having the answers and yet not using them, not utilizing
So
them.
let me share this because I've been out going on 9 years. Right. I messed up when I got out for about a good 9 months,
Yes, sir.
drinking, smoking, doing stupid stuff. But by the grace of God, I wasn't reincarcerated. The Lord was gracious and merciful enough to kind of wake me up while I was still out here. Here's where I'm going with this, man. I've met a lot of men when I was working at the Cal unit. They get out. Even guys I did time with like yourself who get out and go back. I've noticed that there's a common denominator, and I want to know if you identify with this common denominator.
Okay.
We get out and we experience the stresses of life after having been incarcerated 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 years, and suddenly we think we can do it on our own. The community we had in prison was what on the cool not just saved us in a sense, but kept us safe, right?
Right.
I say that loosely. You know what I mean by
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
right? So we have the community that keeps us strong, provides us with a sense of family and acceptance and love. But when we get out, what happens? What happens to the sense of the we begin to we don't hang out no more, we don't go to church or we don't go to bar. Something starts happening, and then here comes the flesh, here comes the enemy, here comes life,
Hey,
man. And you no longer, and we all did this, you no longer go back to the community.
right.
So here's where I'm going with this. When you were struggling like you did, and you started tripping out, man, and going back to doing drugs and whatnot, why didn't Eric reach out to somebody?
Uh, well, the one thing that causes me to isolate isn't just making a bad decision, knowing I'm going to make the bad decision, but it's the guilt that comes after that, and not wanting to share that guilt, not wanting to express that. Um, it was it was tough, to continue forward. So it just isolation just causes us to rage against all sound wisdom. You know,
That's a problem.
yeah, it's a proverb, man.
That's a
We
proverb.
don't somebody. In other words, can't nobody tell you nothing. You know,
Right.
and because you think you know the next step you need to take, or I've got this, or I can quit at any time, whatever your excuses are, you just rage against common sense. Practical wisdom. And that's why I didn't reach out to nobody because I thought I had it, man. Just
And so when you and I did this too, but again, it was just by the grace of God that I didn't get locked back up. When you didn't reach out to someone, did you feel that you were going deeper into your relapse?
definitely,
Definitely, huh?
definitely
And how did that make you feel?
scared.
Scared.
Yeah, very
But
scared.
but you but you kept going.
Kept going anyway because nothing else would help at the moment. That's
Is there
what
is
you
there a
think.
yeah, I've never been, I can't really identify with the drug life. But I've noticed that some people, and this may not be true of you, you can share if you want. Is there a shame associated with having been saved, and you, brother, you were preaching and teaching, and you were leading Bible study, you get out, and now you're back riddled in addiction. Is there a shame attached to that?
Absolutely.
And how does that affect you?
Well, it will do one of two things to you, just like I told men that came to prison. Prison will do one of two things to you. You'll either get better or you'll get worse. You're not going to stay the same. And so it's kind of the same concept. That guilt is either going to drive you to do worse or it's going to drive you to do better. The thing about choosing to do better is utilizing the tools that you've been given, that you have at your disposal, picking up and calling your sponsor, calling a Christian brother, not isolating yourself from people of the church out of fear of judgment and that they're no longer going to love you and accept you because you made a bad choice.
Right. And so when you got locked back up, walk us through that experience. But what was going on emotionally, spiritually? What were you going through, brother? Share that.
Man, well, I wouldn't say I made fun of people, but I did not get people who struggled with depression. And immediately out the gate, going into county jail, I struggled with depression really tough because I felt like I had abandoned my family, for my drug use, regardless of the excuses I could come up with at the time, which were many.
Yeah.
But I couldn't deal with that I had caused that much hurt and pain. They were about to have to get evicted and move into the Salvation Army or whatever their situation was. Every time she moved after that, I felt like it was my fault, even though for years she made her own decisions after that.
Hmm.
But just dealing with that guilt, it just drove me to depression. I ended up working at a pretty good ODR in Tulia unit after I left Middleton, and that wasn't a good combination to be depressed and working around food, free world food. Officers bringing it in, having you cook for them. Yes. So that's how I dealt with my depression. Is I ate, and I got up to about 292 pounds.
What,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
brother? Wow,
I'm 185 now, so
big boy status.
yeah. Uh, and that's just how I dealt with it. I would just shut down. I mean, I would read my Bible and stuff, and I would even go to church, but it just seemed like nothing would help. You just lose that joy. And every call, every video visit, whatever you do to come text your family is just another reminder that you failed them. You know,
And what was a? I'm sure there were, because for me, there's some turning points, right? Some milestones in your life that
absolutely.
are the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back. What was a major turning point for you that got you out of that depressive state, Eric?
Uh, honestly, um, if I had to put it in words, it was finally seeing myself as God saw me.
Amen.
Because seeing myself, looking at myself through my own eyes, all I can see is my mistakes. I posted something on Facebook the other day that said that, and then I realized I could choose to be happy about my future instead of being torn up about my past. It's to paraphrase it. And
Yeah,
at that point in my life, it was like things are not going to get better if I continue down this road. And so it was just a realization that it was up to me to be able to move forward, number one, with God, let Him deal with my guilt, deal with my sin, deal with, you know, all my, trash and my crap, and just bring it to the table and let Him sort that part out and show me who He sees me as through His eyes. Who am I to you? And that very basis is what forms what everybody terms as our identity in Christ. Your
hmm,
identity in Christ is His son, is His daughter, first and foremost. And when you think about your own kids, could you ever stop loving Justin? Would
never.
would you would you discipline him if he needed it?
Absolutely.
Right? So love looks different to everybody, but what I realized was that my discipline, the consequences of my own sin in itself was the discipline that God used to drive me to say, hey, this is actually who you are. You're my son. You're not an addict. You're my son. You're not a angry person. You're my son. You're not this. You're not even good things that we identify with. The drummer, I can
Hmm.
play the drums better than you remember, brother. But
Yeah, you've gotten better.
yes, sir.
Awesome.
But hey man, I'll be rocking my truck when I'm in there air drumming, man.
I believe it, man. I believe it.
Yes, sir. But the identity, having to get that grounded in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, to whenever things like that come up, and you still struggle. I'll still struggle today with being tempted to identify with the old man.
Yeah,
And gratefully I've got a beautiful family that they're here to remind me on a daily basis that's not who you are anymore. You don't talk like that. You don't act like that. Instead of judging me and saying you're never going to change, you know, and that's just God continuing to show me who I am. And so
right.
it's never going to stop. That process will go on until the day we die.
It kind of reminds me of when I was working at the Kyle unit, man, as a drug counselor. One of the things that I was always highlighting for the men there at the unit was, because look, you've been locked up, dude. I've been locked up. We know the victim mentality is deep in prison. Oh man, it's because that boss man, or it's because the parole, or it's because the warden, or it's
Absolutely.
because I don't get a letter, or I didn't get a visit, and we're just always blaming other people. And there's a subtle message in that, and the message is this: I sincerely believe, deceitfully rather, I sincerely believe that if the circumstances of my life were right, then I would be okay,
Right.
right? And
Right.
that's incorrect on all accounts.
Right.
And the example that I would give the guys at the Kyle unit was, if you guys are waiting for circumstances in your environment and your air conditioning, your food, and your bed to be just the way it needs to be so you can do good, then let's go back to the Garden of Eden where it was perfect. That was the best environment ever,
Absolutely.
and they still smoked it. So your environment, your environment, while it may play a role, an influence in your decisions, they should not determine your decisions. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And that's what I think a lot of people fail to realize, that because you're talking about identity, like I'm a human being, not a human doing,
Right.
right?
Yes, sir.
So I am someone first before God commissions me to go do or whatever. But we get stuck with that. I'm this because I do this. No, man, because what if you can't do this anymore? Then
Right.
what happens?
Right.
It goes back to you. Let's say you were this grade A carpenter for 20 years before you got locked up, and then you get locked up, and who are you now?
Yeah,
Right?
when you're having to
You're,
wash dishes in the scullery.
yeah. So exactly, or you're in the
Right.
whole squad.
Yeah.
So who you think you were, being identified by a craft or a trade, or by illicit relationships, or chemical substances, or whatever it is that you did, that you believe was who you were, that's now gone, and you're emotionally nude, right? You're bare before all to see. So who are you now?
Yes, sir.
And that's something that I learned profoundly when I was locked up, dude. That uh, it, the state will strip you of the lie if you
Yes.
let it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It'll strip you of the lie if you let it, and that is a blessing, man, because that's when God can come in and do what He needs to do,
Absolutely.
form you, create you, just start from scratch. Like you're not identified by your craft or your trade, or your relationships or these substances. Like you're not identified by that. You're identified by Jesus Christ, and that's it.
Amen. That's it. It's the only word that matters.
That's it,
Yeah.
man. So when you got out what, last year, 2 years ago? When'd you get out?
I got out this year, January 24th.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
You, I can smell, I can still smell that squeeze sheet on you,
You smell
brother.
that chili mac?
Woo, that chili mac,
Yeah.
the cookies of the week.
Man, sometimes I
So
wish I
you,
had a good spread from them.
oh man, so you got out. If I recall correctly, you were in the south side of Texas for a little bit. What were you doing down here, brother? Where were you?
I was located in Austin.
Once the relationship with my ex-wife was no longer, I had to make a decision about somewhere to go because my plan was actually to move in with her. So I had time, I had a year and a half to figure that out. And so I decided that I needed to be somewhere where I knew I was going to stay plugged in. Number one, that had at least offer somewhat of a decent environment. I know that all the halfway houses sometimes we write like people say, "Oh, that's a good place," but you get there, man, and it's dope infested, or it's there's
Right,
problems. So I investigated and I took my time. And the two main places I wanted to write to was Calvary Commission up in Lindale, Texas, up there by Pinky, and also Texas Reach Out Ministries in Austin. Both of them came highly regarded by individuals either that had been there or knew somebody that had been there and said it was good. And so I ultimately wrote Texas Reach Out down there in Austin. I wanted to just be in a new place, had plans to be single for a year, not have a family, do none of that, just focus on me, and my mentor at the time, Jordan, he kind of smiled at me, he's like, and just one of them faces, like, and I'm like, what's that for, brother? And he's like, don't make plans, or you can, it's good to have structure. It's good to have goals. You know what I mean? But don't say what you're going to do with your life, because God may have something for you totally different,
hmm,
But not that the Austin thing wasn't good for me, but what I realized what he meant by that was that Austin wasn't my final destination because I had responsibilities still up here in Amarillo. I had my brother, my sister, um, my dad, my son from my first marriage, my daughter from my second marriage. So it was just one of them things where it was like I was trying to just not be a part of any of that. But God had turned me into the man that was ready to go and get plugged in. And then along the way, met my fiance, most one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life, and just a whole lot different dynamic, you know. And so being here, it was God's ultimate calling. But that place gave me, Texas Reach Out Ministries gave me that footing to where I put into practice everything that I had learned the last 6.5 years. You know, not perfectly, but I had learned
Right.
lessons and I got to use that. The hard work that I did in prison for free, being a warden's boy or a line puller, you know, would I still do that out there? You know, and so, man, I got a job. I didn't get it as fast as I wanted. It took me 3.5 weeks, but I landed a job. It was for Tesla, but it was through like a middleman company that Tesla used
Like
their.
a temp agency.
Well, no, I mean the company.
HL Yerman,
Okay.
what they do is they lease their building and their property to produce the tires for Tesla. So it was just like a middleman deal. So I worked there. Yes, I did get on with HL Yerman through a temp agency. You're correct.
Okay.
Um, so I worked there just slinging tires and rims, man, for a couple months and just being diligent. I got a good back workout, Monday through Friday. I stayed fit, man, and I kept
That's how you lost weight.
yes, sir. I kept exercising, and I would just stay diligent, and within a couple
Months, that coveted promotion that everybody wants and that pay raise, man, hey, it came because I was
Wow.
consistent and I was diligent. And I am a hard worker, and I do love serving people, and no matter what profession you're in, every job or every company is in the customer service industry, man. We're all selling something to somebody.
Hmm.
So, and the environment that William Payne offered at Texas Reach Out Ministries, man, is very interactive. I mean, he's going to come by the house every day. He's going to ask everybody questions, man. He's just involved. He keeps you in a good church, gets you plugged in somewhere and get you doing community service. I mean, he keeps you busy, and the old saying is that being busy will keep you out of trouble,
Hmm.
it's kind of true, so
Yeah.
um, and that's what I did, and then things started happening. For just, I mean, I guess just feeling the call to come back home started happening. My dad's not doing good; he's falling down. And everything I wanted to do started to get frustrated you know and that was the first time I knew God had really changed me, was because that same situation has been the same situation 1,000 times that's driven me to drug addiction or to drinking or to do whatever. And so it didn't this time I accepted the challenge. I knew things weren't going to be easy coming here. um but so far, man, God has shown his grace and his mercy and his favor more than I've seen his favor more, in the last 6 months than I have in my entire life. Not that it hadn't been there, but just seeing it, actually being in the position and the heart condition to see it and to receive it. It's
That's
totally
awesome.
different.
So, Emma, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
You're not gonna get shy, are you?
Depends.
Right. So when big boy Eric here came home, how did you feel?
I felt like I could spend time with him more because last time I saw him, I was very, very young and I didn't know if he actually loved me anymore. But I'm
Wow.
still with him, so.
So when he was gone all those years, did you feel like he didn't love you, or like maybe did you blame him? Was there like anger? Were you struggling with certain things?
Well, um, I felt like someone ran away from me and I couldn't grab onto them by Christ and just pull them back to me.
Wow.
That's
That's
tough.
amazing, bro. That's tough. But
Yeah.
don't start crying. Don't start crying.
I'm on estrogen blockers, brother. I'm
Well,
good.
you better. Eric, look, y'all don't know Eric. He's a big. As soon as he get the microphone, oh my god! Hold on, y'all. He's a big baby. All
I
that
was so
hair, all that
broken, brother.
muscles. He's a big baby. All that hair, all that.
Something's wrong
He's a
with me.
big
I was
baby.
broken, man.
So Emma, he's home. He's there. How does it feel to have your dad back in your life?
I feel like I could get to know him more and
Okay,
love him more.
awesome. Name one silly thing that he does that always makes you laugh.
Um, Sometimes we go onto Snapchat and do funny filters. And
Bro, you on Snapchat?
Yes, I love it.
The funny filters, huh? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
those. My stepdaughter has that, and she does funny filters with my son, and it's crazy. So how about something, Emma? How about something that he does that gets you mad? Like, oh my god, Dad.
um, I don't
She's
really
like, I'm,
get
she's
mad.
like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I better not
I don't
say
really
it.
get mad at him. It's just sometimes he does stuff that embarrasses me.
For example,
So, about the funny filters thing, he like takes the phone from my hand and he tries to bring back the like horrible
The,
funny
the ugly
filters.
ones.
Like the ones that go like and like I cover my face and I'm like stop.
what does he show it to people to try to embarrass you?
No, I try grabbing the phone make him stop.
It's this big old tug of war back and
Yeah.
forth.
It's either her phone or mine, man. It can't be both.
Oh my god, that's funny. Emma, so what grade are you in?
Um, I'm in fifth.
Fifth? What's your favorite subject?
Um, I like English.
Snapchat is not a subject.
I like English.
Snapchat, she's all, should I say
Snapchat.
Snapchat? English is good. That's my favorite subject.
Uh-oh.
Awesome. Do you have any plans? Like, you want to be a teacher when you grow up? You want to be an astronaut? What do you want to do when you grow up? Any plans? I know you're still
Um,
young, but you know,
I have a lot. So I like art, I like singing, and I like sharing with people.
you got your daddy's heart.
Yeah.
You got your dad. That's awesome. Sharing with people. So this dynamic, man, that you and your daughter experience, brother, it's it's priceless. And I
Amen.
think it's just it's awesome that you have her. I didn't, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't plan for this setup right here. She just showed up and here she is.
Yeah.
But I think it illustrates the importance of why a father needs to be in a child's life,
Yes.
whether it's a little girl or a little boy. Parents need to be a part of their children's lives. You just heard this young lady say, I felt like he was running and I couldn't, like, that hurts.
Man.
That hurts a kid. So you father, you mother, if you're watching this, if you're struggling with addiction, if you're struggling with any type of depression, any type of, think about who's affected most, because as we know, as incarcerated people, when we get locked up, they do the time with us. And this young lady right here did time with Eric. And to hear her sweet little voice talk about, I felt like I wasn't loved, or I felt like he was running and I couldn't catch him, man, that'll tug at your heartstrings big time,
Oh, man.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this episode, folks, please, your kids deserve all of you. Not a part time of you, but all of you.
Yes,
Amen,
sir.
right, Eric?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So now that you're out here living a good life, man. Any challenges that you want to share with our viewers? Anything that's, you've been kind of struggling with that you're overcoming, or something that's what you got there, brother?
I would say one of the biggest challenges, before I go into that part, one of the biggest setbacks and things that uh, brought me into coming back The last time is what I call compartmentalizing your life. Not saying that there's not any separation in different kind of relationships and places, but what I meant is being the same person, whether I'm on the golf course with my buddy, or I'm at church, or I'm at home with my family. I can't be an alcoholic on the golf course with my buddy and be a drug addict at work and then try to be a man of God at church and at home. It doesn't work like that. And so those things that we struggle with, if we would decompartmentalizing your life. So the challenge today has been um, making sure that I do not fall into that same trap. And when I'm at work, I am still Stephanie's king, and I'm still a son of the Most High. So that no matter what comes my way, that identity helps me to face whatever temptation or situation may come, and to be able to rise above, and not just for myself, but rising above and also taking somebody with me, having guys at work that, hey, I found out he was locked up and he loves the Lord, but I don't know from the way he works. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy at work that people know that I love the Lord and that I love my family, and I'm going to do whatever I can for them. And the same person on the golf course with my buddy, and the same person at church, being that same man of God no matter where I'm at or who I'm with. That's my biggest not struggle, but that's my biggest determining thing right now. My target is just keeping that as simple as possible. And
All
all
that is just being comfortable in who God's made me to be.
Yeah, it kind of it speaks to me, and I'm not saying you struggle with this, but I've known people who I call them social chameleons,
Yes.
right? They when they're with this group or this location, they speak and act a certain way, and they come over here and they adopt the manners and customs of this place, and they're just, who are you,
All right.
right? Who are you?
Hey,
But
they'll even
when you're,
spiritualize it. Oh, Paul said, I
became all things to all men.
that's it, yeah, right.
yeah.
But you got to be the same person, consistent
Yes,
who you
sir.
are in Christ wherever you go.
Wherever you go.
And if they don't like it, then hey, it's cool. I'm going to keep on rocking Christ the way I
Yes.
need to rock him, and because I have, dude, I tell guys at the Kyle, protect your freedom. Like, protect your freedom at all costs. Speaking of
Yes.
freedom, brother, are you on paper right now?
Yes, sir. I still have 2 years. Well,
I'll be off paper February of 2027.
You just added 5 years with that. What the heck?
I had to, huh?
She just added.
Oh,
She looks like she looks like she's about 15 right there. What the girl? You better calm
she
down.
better slow down, right?
She better slow down.
All
She's all.
right. Yeah.
So yeah. So you got 2 more years on paper.
Yes, sir. Till
That's good,
February of
man.
2027.
You didn't get on a monitor or anything like that.
Actually, I did. So even
Okay,
being in that place, I got out.
On the monitor, and I had to be, and it wasn't a GPS monitor. It was just one of the simple ones where I had to be back in the house at a certain time, and I could
Leave
leave.
curfews.
every day, but I just had the curfew monitor. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
and it's still, I mean,
It was easier than the GPS monitors. It's a lot less simple, but you still deal with that irritation. But I just set my mind to, hey, it's not even there. And so the program that I submitted to when I was off the monitor was the same program I kept doing, well, when I was off of it, as
Right.
I was on it. So it was just like forming a good habit
of just going to work, going to the store when I need to, and then doing what I need to get done at Texas Reach Out.
That's good. So we're gonna go ahead and wind down our episode. Emma,
of,
I want you to tell our viewers something that they should remember.
Um, y'all should remember to help if someone's trying to, like, if you have a kid, stay with them and, um, make them feel like you are a person to them. Because when people leave, children like me and younger kids, it feels like we're lost and we don't have anybody with us. So
Wow.
just remember to stay with someone if you've like left them. Just talk to them and make them feel loved.
Wow. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super real, man. That's good.
Hey,
That's really really good.
it feels
Thank you for
good and
sharing
it
that,
cuts at the same time.
man. It feels good. It cuts. It's
Yeah.
whoo, that feels good. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. I needed to hear that and my viewers. Eric, what about your message? What's your message to those who are watching this episode? What do you want them to remember? Not just about you, brother, but about life, brother. What message do you have for our viewers?
I would say that
All of life, when it comes down to its most simplest terms, when you find out who you are, when you find out what it is God wants you to do, it's never about you. It's about serving Him first and foremost, and the way that He calls us to serve Him is to serve and love His people. And so, with that fundamental foundation of service, uh, the first platform is your family platform. Being that person at home and give that time. Let that person who you are, let it concrete into the hearts and the minds of your family, of those around you, whether it be a wife, fiance, daughters, brothers, sisters, whoever it is in your life that you have. They need to see the consistency in you. So don't get discouraged whenever they're not happy with you. I went through that with my father. Of course, he spent years of me screwing up all my life, and I get out and I know I'm different, and I want him to believe that in 2 days. It don't work
No,
like that,
it doesn't.
and so I made my mind up to, hey, I'm going to love him no matter what he believes about me. And I do. I go over to his house all the time, take care of him, take him groceries, whatever I got to do. But here at home, for my family, it's providing, it's keeping the job, bringing home the paycheck, taking care of the bills, making sure nothing gets turned off, making sure your kids have everything they need, maybe not want, but what they need, and doing the best you can with the time that you have with them. And then once that's solidified, God starts bringing situations and circumstances to you like this, an opportunity to go even further, or
Amen.
to play drums at church or wherever, that may look like, going back into the unit. I can't wait to do that, to go back in and to show the brothers in white, man, that it's possible, to make it out here, even in these crazy times we live in.
It feels really good going back when you begin to go back into the prison, bro. It's gonna bless you in so many ways. I promise you.
I can't wait.
So, Emma, thank you for joining us unexpectedly. You graced us with your presence, and you made this 49-year-old man cry. Thank you for that,
Yeah.
Eric. Man, appreciate you joining, brother. Let's keep in touch, man.
Yes, sir.
I, I,
Absolutely.
I'm still your mentor, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell
Let's keep
people
in
that all the
touch.
time.
I know, right? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Say bye, everybody.
God bless.